on George Adam, to be followed by Anne McTaggart. A generous 6 minutes.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. And I'd also like to thank the committee for the difficult work that they've undertaken in this inquiry. As Dave Stewart, the convener, and Angus MacDonald already said, if one child is actually helped because of this inquiry, then we've surely done something. But it is a very difficult subject, and that's been echoed by just about everyone else who's spoke on during the debate. I'd echo John Wilson saying how challenging it must have been for them, because you only need to look at the case studies in Annex A of the report and the young people involved, and bear in mind that it's not just it's not just print on the paper. You can actually see these are real young people, real lives and real issues that are happening in the world, and it's harrowing, horrific and very difficult reading for us all. But as the convener, Dave Stewart, quite rightly said, and I may be paraphrasing him, we need to know these things and we need to investigate that, because this cannot be allowed to continue. You know, Jamie Hepburn said, as a father, it's difficult to take in, to comprehend, you know, this kind of situation. I agree with him as well, because child sexual exploitation is just something that we just all repulses us when we actually hear about it, and that's why it makes the work undertaken by the committee so difficult. But I have to say that Jamie Hepburn also brought up the fact that it involves our responsibility as parents to ensure that we know what our role is with our own children, to ensure that we can help. It's not just a case of talking to, although education has an important part of it, we all have a responsibility in this. But the Minister already said how we all felt a mixture of horror, anger and sadness at the news from Rotherham, Rochdale and the ongoing Jimmy Savile stories. You know, every one of us, it becomes extremely difficult for us to actually comprehend that some, especially the high-profile Jimmy Savile case, where someone like that could be as vile an individual as that. But I welcome the Scottish Government's setting up the Ministerial Working Group on child sexual exploitation and working with the experts and those who closely work with victims of this in local authorities, the Crown Office, police and key children's organisations, because this is the best way to share best practice. As Angus MacDonald already said, there is quite a bit of good practice out there, and ensure that they can work together. Data collection was mentioned by David Torrance, and I would just say that that's probably quite an important part of the Children and Young People's Bill that's going through at the moment. Some of the evidence we've received has been the difficulty in being able to get information backwards and forwards, and one of the key issues of the Children and Young People's Bill is that we get that opportunity, but to share that with the named person. But one of the other things that David Torrance also mentioned was that the Vulnerable Young People and Operational Group in Renfrewshire, now this is obviously was representatives from the police, social work, education, health and children's reporter, and gives by a case-by-case basis, meets regularly and gives people the opportunity to get the information with regards to CSE as well. So I think this is an example of best practice, and it's mentioned in page 13 of the report itself. The working group is correct when they've said that this is not a standalone issue. It's something that we need to ensure that we all kind of know what's going on, and we do all we can to work together. I need to ensure we have the strongest approach in child protection. But one of the things I don't need to mention has been mentioned here on numerous occasions is, you know, the key pillar of the Children and Young People's Bill is getting it right for every child. And that's one of the main reasons that we're currently going through the parliamentary process with that bill. And I believe that the named person, access till young people are 18, can actually make a difference and help with some of these cases and possibly highlight things. You know, you can't legislate for bad people. I've said this before, but what you can do is you can try and make sure that everyone gets all the information they possibly can when cases like this happen. You know, to give help and support for the young people and potentially identifying the problem as an issue. Obviously, the child plan and access to the plan will make a difference and help as well. But schools play a vital role in identifying and preventing child exploitation, ensuring that children and young people education topics such as the Minister stated about appropriate relationships, protection from abuse and keeping themselves safe from harm early on in education, right till we're leaving school. You know, one of the other things that we have to say is there already are some things that the government do invest in. Respect Me and Childline are government funded and are working hard with others to help people to tackle bullying and behaviour in all forms and give advice to schools on how to encourage safe, responsible use of personal mobile technology in school and beyond. And this is one of the main issues that came up in the report, as well as we do have an issue with cyberbullying bullying and bullying in general with young people at the moment as well. But I do welcome the Scottish Government's commitment to ensure that fast, effective protection is in place for the children at risk of abuse and neglect. They've already set up the Ministerial Working Group, which I've already mentioned, on child sexual exploitation, and there is a report back. I wait to hear what the Government actually says on the actual report itself and what they are going to do further on this one as well. One of the other things I'd like to bring up as well was some of the messages that have been highlighted. You know, the child protection is everyone's responsibility, and that's one of the things that I mentioned earlier on myself, Presiding Officer. We all have to take responsibility and ensure that we do talk about it in an open manner. I know many of us would have probably had difficulty when we saw this debate actually here to be discussed, but it's one of these things that if we don't talk about it, then who talks about it? How can we actually make sure that some of these horror stories don't happen? So just in closing, Presiding Officer, I would just like to say, we have to remember that these case studies here are not just part of the report that's just to be filed away and forgotten about. This is real young people and their lives, and we have to ensure that what we do in here makes a difference in their lives.
Many thanks.